Hey folks, I'm Rob with Blue Horse Threat Mitigation Strategies. Today we're going to go over Church Security 101, the security evaluation process. If we think about what the Bible says, God really wants us to be prepared. He wants us to be ready for these kind of things. In Proverbs 21:31, it says, "The horse is prepared against the day of battle, but the safety is of the Lord." All right, so no matter what your role or your mission is within the security evaluation process of your church, synagogue, your mosque, or maybe study hall or community center area, whatever it is, keep in mind the following. What's important now? Okay, WIN, an acronym. We need to make sure that we address the most important problems. Is there anything that's going to cause death or serious injury? Anything that's going to cause property damage? Or anything that's going to make our situation worse than it is now? WIN, W-I-N. In addition to asking what's important now, there's also three very important questions we also need to consider. Where are we now? Where are we going? And how are we going to get there? The answers to those questions will come out of several processes. One of those being the THIRA, T-H-I-R-A, the Threat and Hazardous Incident Risk Analysis or Risk Assessment. Also a needs analysis, as well as a review essentially of the best practices in your industry. So when we talk about places of worship, these practices and procedures can apply to nearly every location out there where people congregate or people meet. When we talk about a security evaluation process, we also talk about security functions. Who's going to do this job? Is it the pastor or the leader of the organization? Is it a group of deacons or senior members? Or is it someone from the general membership of the organization? Whoever it is that's on this team needs to be trusted individuals. Your security evaluation process needs to begin as soon as possible. It should be cyclic, it should be something that's done on a regular basis, and if you have the personnel, it should be the same people doing it, okay? Because familiarity with this job, the knowledge of the environment helps tremendously in this. So we'll talk a little bit about zones and perimeters. We want to consider areas around our congregation area, the place where the people are going to be, okay? That box, the building. That's the container of our at-risk population. Around this primary location, we want to build out perimeters or zones, okay? We can go all the way out to perimeter X, but a good practice is to make your closest perimeter to your location perimeter number 1. It gives it that primary importance, okay? And then we build outward from there. And we'll do the same thing with the exterior of the building. If it's a campus or a sports venue, something like that, that has multiple entrances, multiple rooms within other rooms, then we need to consider those things specifically. So when we talk about the security team, we have to talk about who are we looking for? What are we looking for? The bad guy, essentially. We're looking for anyone that could range anywhere from a international terrorist organization to a local criminal element, the organization of the day that just doesn't like places of worship. Could be that one crazy person that might live in your area that has something out for God or something out for the people who go to places of worship. What's typically not included in that group is the membership of your organization, the people involved in your organization. Could be a trusted member of your organization. Remember, human problems affect all humans. A lot of the violence that's seen in the community comes from problems in domestic relationships, domestic arguments, and domestic violence. Okay, remember you have families in your organization, and families experience problems. Okay, you have to be on the lookout for those kind of things also. Okay, we're looking for any evidence, anything that suggests that someone is planning an attack on our location. Let me give you some information from a police standpoint concerning terrorist activities. Most assaults or terrorist acts are stopped in those early stages. That's where most of them are stopped, or at least interrupted. That's where a security team has the most effect on someone. Once those bad actors pass that point and they get into the later stages of their assault, it's almost impossible to stop their success of the assault. That doesn't mean they'll be successful in hurting people, but more than likely they will continue on to the assault. What are we looking for? We're looking for suspects. We're looking for people who look suspicious. If it looks suspicious to you and you can somewhat articulate why it's suspicious, there's never anybody standing over by that bush. No one ever uses that back door. Then it's suspicious. Try to use some discretion, try to use some rational thought in it. But if it looks suspicious, call the police. What might we find? We might find cigarette butts over here. It's maybe an empty soda can, evidence that someone stayed in a certain place for a while watching things. You have plenty of people coming in for services from particular areas. One or more people might see someone sitting over here on the hill with some binoculars or some type of scope that they're looking over here. Those things are worth being addressed. So we're looking for any evidence of something happening around here, all right? Your landscape company or the people who take care of your lawn, they might notice that, hey, there's cigarette butts along the side of the building. If you know nobody smokes and nobody's along the side of the building, then that needs to be looked into, okay? Don't hesitate to contact local law enforcement. So what else are we looking for on the outside of the building? We're looking for things like pry marks on the doorways, cuts in the screen removal or attempts at it, maybe broken windows. We're looking for any modifications to doors or windows or other areas where people might gain access to your location. We're also looking for suspicious items. Let's say there's a pile of leaves over here underneath this tree, and in that pile of leaves you find a bag of rifle magazines. Now, that's evidence. Don't just discard it. Don't discount it. Make sure you call local law enforcement, all right? We're also looking for changes in the environment. Maybe on this side of the street is a large wooded area. What if you came to church one day and there was a large stack of logs right here? Not really something to worry about. Could they be used as a barrier to keep people from exiting or keep people from entering? That's what we're looking for. Vehicles parked where they shouldn't be. In general, we're looking for anything that points to suspicious circumstance or that could lead to a worsening of the environment. So in general, we're looking for suspicious circumstances, suspicious items that might indicate some other activities going on. All right, now we're at game day, arrivals, people arriving at your location. Before anyone arrives, your security elements should have been there and have done their outer perimeters and worked their way all the way into that container or location, this place where the people are going to be. What your security elements should be doing is once they get there, you want to check entrances and exits. You want to make sure that all the ones that need to be unlocked are unlocked and are locked again afterwards. For instance, your pastor and maybe his family might park back here if he doesn't have a key, and you're going to want to make sure he gets in or the door is unlocked and locked afterwards. This is where video surveillance and proper hardware on your location really matters. Okay, push bar exit doors are definitely beneficial for these type of locations. Okay, you can have card key access or key access and give that to specific people. Also, once it's closed, difficult to open from the outside, easy to open from the inside. One consideration when you're thinking about exits and entrances, a good rule of thumb is to count your number of entrances and exits. You should have at least one more security personnel than you do entrances and exits. Okay, we'll talk about that later also. So you're on a security team and it's Sunday morning. Where do you stand? Okay, there's certain critical times during these events that you should not be on a break outside. You should not be concentrating on social media or your phone, okay, or text messaging. There are times where you need to remain alert and remain focused on the job at hand. At some point before your event, people are going to be arriving. Okay, the pastor and his family, other members of the church, maybe people that have specific jobs, daycare or Sunday school teachers, they may be arriving first. You want to make sure that you check this area before they arrive. Okay, so being out here in this area is a good spot for that initial arrival of people, and then moving yourself into this area over here, making sure you're at least wandering from side to side. Because remember, the pastor or the leader of this organization will probably be here at the doorway. Remember, they're the face of the organization. They're going to be greeting people. And you should be a greeter also, but not focusing on conversations. Okay? It's meet, greet, and funnel. All right, let's talk about out-of-place people. Oops. OOPS. All right? Your job on the security team is to challenge everybody who seems to be out of place. Okay? Everybody who seems to be suspicious. Now, we're not challenging them like we're a police officer or regarding the president. Remember, we're part of this organization. All are welcome. So let's say we find somebody here at the back door. We don't want to make the assumption that they're not a bad actor, but we also can't approach them with guns out as part of this organization, as somebody who's welcoming people. What we want to do is greet them. Hi, how are you doing? How can I help you? And wait for an answer. So let's say we've identified somebody who is suspicious, who's just not acting right, okay? We want to make sure that we communicate with other people on the security team and the pastor and maybe other members who are trusted, as well as someone needs to keep an eye on the pastor, as well as other people at risk. You might have that one half of a family that was involved in a violent domestic just the night before, all right? Remember, they're an at-risk population. We want to keep an eye on them, okay? For safety's sake. We've gone through our perimeter, we've gone through the building, we've addressed all those people that we thought were suspicious, everybody checked okay. Now what do? We're going to get into those ongoing activities. That's going to be keeping an eye on the immediate perimeter, our access points, making sure they're monitored and at least secured, keeping an eye on the pastor, on the at-risk people, on those suspicious people. All right, so now we're going to talk about that time of assault, okay, the typical time of assault. From an offender's planning point of view, these assaults usually occur somewhere between about 15 minutes after the start of an event up till about 15 minutes before the end of an event, with its focus being about halfway through a typical service or worship hour. It's thought and believed to be based on the idea that that's where most people will be there. The arriving traffic has slowed down, the departing traffic is nearly zero, there's very little activity outside the location, and most people are confined to one space. Okay, and that's an advantage for an offender here. What happens when the event starts? And by the event, I'm talking about the scheduled event at your location. What our security team, what are you going to be doing during the service? So as soon as the service starts, what we want is, preferably, if you have the manpower, one of our security personnel to come out of the building, to do an immediate perimeter check of the structure, do a quick check of the parking lot, and we want them to get in the vehicle and want them to check that perimeter X, that outer perimeter, and then work their way back down to the center, okay? And then before people start exiting here, we want them either here near the parking lot or somewhere out here, okay? Because remember, the pastor or the leader of this organization will probably be at the door again to greet people as they exit. Definite benefit here. And until the last person leaves this location, we want to make sure that we maintain vigilance. We need to maintain visual contact with the pastor for those people who are at risk until they get to their vehicles and they've exited this location, all right? Now, if anywhere along the line we get any indication that maybe the other half of a domestic argument has arrived, or maybe is sitting over here, or we see him walking over here, you want to notify local law enforcement, okay? And notify them quickly. There should be no question about it. So everyone's leaving, they're on the way out of the building. Now we're talking about departure. Remember, we're maintaining our vigilance as people leave. We're looking for those people who may be going to their vehicle and coming back. You might have fixed a meal for the pastor or something like that and bringing it back to them. But make sure you keep your eyes on people who are returning, okay? Returning one, or maybe those people who are at risk. All right, closing. So everyone's left. The pastor's gathering up his things, his family's there waiting for him, very few vehicles in the parking lot, maybe very few people standing around. The building should be empty. All right, we're going to do one final check of the building. We're looking for suspicious items left behind. This is where communication with any other groups that might have access to your building, this is where communication comes in handy. You know, it might be something you overlooked on an earlier security pass. This is where rules and policies come in place, okay? Letting your membership know. Don't leave things here. Don't leave your book bag, Bible bag sitting behind, although some people do. We're also checking our exits. We're checking our windows, all those places where somebody might enter. We're looking for any tampering, any evidence of changes of the environment. All right? And before we leave, we're also going to check and make sure our video surveillance is working, door alarms are working, and all of our doors, the security is working, as well as the lighting. Because remember, for the most part, we're there during daylight hours. We don't see the porch light that's off. We don't get to see we don't get to see the street light that doesn't come on at night. Maybe take a visit to your church or to your location at night too. See how it looks then. Also, you got to make sure that your video surveillance is going to be effective at night too. As far as closing is concerned, if anything is detected, any evidence during the service, immediately after the service, on your way out, anything within these zones, these perimeters that you've identified as being pertinent to your location, that you believe is evidence of something going on concerning your location, bring it up to local law enforcement, all right? They're a key resource. The other things that should be discussed and that we will discuss in the future, all right? Video surveillance. What options do you need in video surveillance? Does it have to have low light recording in it? Does it have to have wireless capability? Should you be able to access it from anywhere that you're at on your mobile device? What happens to those recordings if the power goes out? What happens if there's a fire or disaster or something happens at your location? Is that video transferred somewhere else? Is there a location off-site where it's automatically uploaded to? You also want to think about communications between your team members. Who do you communicate with on a regular basis? What if you do find something wrong? Do you discuss it with the pastor or the deacons or the board or maybe a membership committee? Do you discuss things with them first? Is there somebody in the local police department that you can contact and can be your primary point of contact with them? Along with soft skills or hard skills, okay? These aren't necessarily combatives that we're talking about. The ability to screen someone. And so we also need to talk about soft skills, okay? That's people skills. Being able to be welcoming to people, because remember, that's our job. To be able to welcome people into this place of worship, but also to maintain caution, maintain a little bit of safety, a little bit of distance. That's Church Security 101. If you like this video, please hit the like, maybe subscribe to it. Keep checking back for other videos on other subjects, all right? Thank you.